Okay, so we are recording now. So the first things we are gonna go over, okay, is that we're gonna forget about buzzwords, okay? So forget about things. I don't want people to think about, oh, is that guiding? Is that or walking? Is that like stutter stepping? Just forget about those. Let's learn the fundamentals from the scratch and not think about these like made up concepts, okay? Because once, like it says here, they overcomplicate a topic that is simple and straightforward, okay? With the rules you will see here, you don't need anything else, okay? And these words are just higher level applications of the basic fundamentals that I will teach you now. With that out of the way, who needs this? Do only lower rank players need this guide? Do only ADCs need this guide? No. If you're below Grandmaster, I promise you, you're not applying these concepts correctly. To give you one example, I have coached a Grandmaster Riven OTP from US. He's 600 LP. And even he didn't apply all of these rules, but I have never had a student below Grandmaster apply all of these rules and all of these concepts properly. And what happens when you don't apply these concepts? Basically, you're gonna do less damage, you're gonna move less distance, and you're gonna take more damage as a result. So by having bad mechanics, you're essentially playing a nerfed version of your own champion. Let's say that you're playing let's say you're playing Jinx and you bought a Drumblade and an attack speed dagger, and you have runes. If you're not applying these rules and you're using your inputs incorrectly, it is the equivalent of a person using the inputs correctly, like me, but without your items. So essentially, you're playing a nerf version of your champion with a constant exhaust on you, so to speak, okay? So let's start with some reminders first. So let's talk about ability and attack basics, okay? So the range, this is really important. So one thing I want to tell you is that range is the second or first most powerful stat in the game, along with movement speed, okay? Riot knows this, and I will teach you why. So some ranges, for example, I don't know if you knew this, even melee champions differ in range. So Leon has 125, but Garen has 175. So no champion is truly melee. They have smaller or bigger ranges, right? On range examples, we have here with 500, we have Vayne, we have Caitlyn, everyone knows this. And for comparison, by the way, Ezreal's Q is double the range of Caitlyn almost. So that's huge, right? So already we have an idea of how you should be playing Ezreal. A lot of Ezreals, especially below Grandmaster, will be playing in this range, even though the Q has this range, right? Okay. So in game, we can press the A key to show our range. Everyone already knows this. If you have another key, that will be another key. By the way, when you press A, it will include the range from your rapid fire cannon or lethal tempo. And this is the first thing you're gonna learn that is new here, which is how range differs from abilities to auto-attacks, okay? So I don't know if you guys know this or knew this, but so this is a comparison of the auto-attack range, but you see how Garen is auto-attacking from like inside the target's hitbox, okay? Like here. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that you can actually auto-attack in the border of the enemy hitbox. So this is what I mean, look. Oops. Where is it? Here. So auto-attacks in League of Legends, auto-attacks can be used when the border of your attack range touches the border of the enemy hitbox. This is the border of the enemy hitbox. When they touch, you can auto-attack. Whereas abilities, when the ability touches the border of the enemy hitbox, it does not do the damage. It does not hit. If you are seeing this, I'm using the ability at the exact same pixel that I'm auto-attacking, but the auto-attack connects, but the ability doesn't. Okay? So this is the main difference between auto-attacks and abilities. Auto-attacks can auto-attack at the edge of a target's hitbox, whereas abilities have to hit near the center of the target's hitbox. Not exactly in the center, but near the center. This means, by the way, if you're playing against a huge champion like Cho'Gath with a lot of stacks, you can actually extend your range and auto-attack him from farther away. Whereas if you're Annie with a Q, you still have to walk up close to him to Q. Okay? Is that clear? So abilities, in other words, an ability that has the exact same range as an auto-attack actually has less range than the auto-attack. So let's say, and Riot knows this, and I will show you proof of this. So let me show you something. I'm now gonna go to practice tool with Kai'Sa. And Kai'Sa is a newer champion in the grand scheme of things. And so she applies this concept. So I'm gonna show you what that means. I don't care about the runes, whatever. Actually, I'm gonna get like... So, there we go. So I don't change my speed or attack speed or anything. So as you might know, Kai'Sa's auto attack has the same range as her Q. I don't know if you guys knew this. When you can auto attack someone, you can actually Q them as well. Okay, fair enough. But the Q is an ability and the auto attack is not. And remember what I told you? The auto attack can be used when it touches this point, and the ability can be used when it touches this point. You know what that means? Riot knows this. That means if you hover to compensate for that, look at this. This is my auto attack range, and look at my ability range. See how it's slightly longer? This is to compensate for the fact this in practice they are actually the same range when you use them. But the thing is, the ability has to touch the middle of the guy, and the auto attack doesn't. Okay? Is that clear? So in fact, one neat trick you can do with Kai'Sa is press your A a lot. If you have several targets with Kai'Sa and you want to only Q one of them, you press your A a lot, and when the A touches the border of one of them, that means that's the only guy you will Q. So here, for example, see? If you want to just touch this one. See, I can auto attack, I can Q. Okay? They have the same range even though they have supposedly different ranges. That's because, in fact, the Q has to go to the middle, okay? This depends, of course, on the target's hitbox. The practice dummy has a shorter hitbox than most champions in the game. So that's why the difference here is not as noticeable. But you know what I mean. Okay, next. As you can see, Annie's W is not hitting, but look at this. There it is hitting. Okay, see how it is hitting now that it's hitting the middle? And this also happens with point and click abilities, okay? Any Q will only hit the target, be able to throw it, when it touches the middle, okay? Now let's talk about cooldowns and animations. Both abilities and auto-attacks have cooldowns and animations. So, and this is not gonna be just simple stuff that you already know. I'm gonna go into detail of why this matters, okay? So both abilities and attacks have a cooldown and animation speed. So the auto attack cooldown is the attack speed. Okay, so attack speed is nothing more than the cooldown of your auto attacks if you think about it. In fact, there's a reason why they are in the same lane here. Attack speed is nothing more than the ability haste of your auto attacks, okay? But there's a difference. When you get ability haste, your cooldowns of your abilities go down. So if I do this, I can spam my Q as much as I want, right? But I don't know if you noticed. Let's disable the towers. But the animation time, okay, the animation time of the ability doesn't go down no matter how much cooldown you have. See? You see how I cannot spam it too much? Like, I have the cooldowns off, but it still cannot like spam it like a machine gun, waste that. Because I still have to wait for the full animation of it. No matter how much cooldown I have, the animation doesn't change, okay? Attack speed is different. When you get attack speed, not only the cooldown of the auto attack goes down, but the animation speed of the auto attack also goes down. This means that attack speed changes even if you only attack once, that is still using attack speed, okay? So ability cooldown determined by haste, but attack speed changes both the animation and cooldown times, really important. We will use this a lot in this session, okay? Ability haste only changes the cooldown, but not the animation time, okay? In fact, there's no way to change an ability's animation time, at least not the visual one, except certain champions that have animation scaling, like Lucian Q. When you level it up, it goes faster, and Saya Q scales with attack speed, but that's like very clear exceptions to the rule. So one thing you gotta know, and this is how we are gonna... So this session is gonna teach you how to create your own combos without having to look them up in YouTube. So that's why we're going through the basics. And I'm gonna teach you how I figured out the best Lucian combos, and I got rank 1 in the world with Lucian without ever looking at a Lucian video, just by applying these rules. So cooldowns are not linked to each other. They don't affect each other, okay? So what does this mean? It means that you can and should recharge several cooldowns at once, linking them together. So this includes both abilities and attacks. In other words, the fact that this W is on cooldown means that now I can throw Q as well, and now they are both on cooldown. They don't affect each other. This is very intuitive, right? Well, But animations are not like that. Animations are linked together, and they affect each other even through different abilities and different attacks. In other words, your champion can only do one animation at a time always. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, what about Riven, animation canceling, chaining? Okay, bear with me. Your champion can only do one animation at a time. And when you do something like Riven animation canceling, what you're doing is overriding one with the other, but they never happen at the same time. And I will explain what that means. Except, again, champions that are meant to be animated at the same time. Like, for example, when you EQ with Yasuo, it's programmed so that you can EQ at the same time. And Samira EQ and Naila EQ. But that's like the only exceptions that I can think of right now. So animations are all linked together. That means that when your champion is in one animation, it cannot be in another. But let's go deeper into that. Well, we're gonna go to animations of abilities later, but let's start with autoattacks first. So we already discussed this, the attack speed stat, blah, blah, blah. So what I mentioned before. So this is the most important part of the session, which is this graph, okay? This graph is gonna be like your champion's input queue graph, okay? In League of Legends, every time you input, it's like you have a timeline, and whatever you input will be buffered into that timeline. It's kind of like you have a queue, an ability queue. In fact, I did some video game programming. I have a 2-year degree in video game design, and it is actually called ability queue in the programming side of things. And so what does this mean? When you auto-attack someone, let's let Kaisa auto-attack and not even move. What Kaisa is doing here, basically, you can see the cooldown, right? She cannot auto-attack as fast as she wants. Even if I do this, it's not gonna go any faster, right? You see that. Doesn't change anything. So basically, it's like Kaisa has this timeline and she can only auto-attack at certain intervals, right? That's not the best drawing in the world, but that's better, okay? So these are gonna be the auto-attacks. Okay? And there's no way, except with auto-attack resets, there's no way you can ever auto-attack between these auto-attacks. Ever. Like, no, doesn't matter how many times I click, doesn't matter if I move, she will still wait, okay? This is a hard-coded thing that you cannot overcome. This is what attack speed means. It is the time between these. I simplified it here, but actually, auto-attacks have an animation, and if you pay close attention, she moves both before and after the projectile came out. Like, even after the projectile came out, she's still like kinda moving her booty and whatever. See? Okay? Like jumping or whatever. Okay, this means that if the white line here, if this white line is the projectile coming out of my body, the animation of the auto attack will happen both before and after the auto attack. Is that clear? But the cooldown begins as soon as the projectile comes out. So what you gotta understand is that cooldowns are not linked to animations. This is what I meant. Like, the cooldown will begin here whether I cancel the animation or not. Okay? So why does this matter? When you move or issue a command during an animation, you will cancel that animation, right? So if I issue a command here, everyone knows this. If I move just before the auto attack comes out, I will cancel that auto attack animation. Right? You see it. Right? And the auto attack never comes out. Why is that? Because I'm canceling the auto attack before I'm canceling the animation of the auto attack before the auto attack comes out. Remember how I told you can only do one animation at a time? So basically, my champion is trying to do a walk animation when I was doing an auto attack animation, and so the walk animation, because I did it last, it will override the walk animation. The walk animation will override the auto attack animation, like this. See? I was in auto attack animation, but I overrode it with walk animation. Okay? That's everyone has done it once, everyone has cancelled an auto attack and missed a kill. Okay. But what happens if I do the same when the projectile already came out? So if I cancel my animation when the projectile is already out, well, that's a good cancel actually, right? Because it means that I don't have to wait for this whole thing and I can start moving or inputting additional commands here sooner, better, right? So this is how it looks like. Instead of having to wait until Kaisa does the whole animation thing, I can just throw the projectile and move out immediately, like that, see? And it's way smoother. In fact, it's like She's kind of looking back when the vegetable comes out, right? So this is how the bread and butter of what people call auto-attack spacing, okay? Or auto-spacing. The best way to do it is by canceling the animation of the auto-attack, because let's imagine that this is a Caitlyn or whatever, another IDC, and she wants to poke me. But she's farming a minion. And remember the cooldown of the attacks? When she's hitting that minion here, let's say that this is an... I'm gonna put a ward and this is a minion, okay? When she's hitting... Oh, sorry. There. When she's hitting that minion there, her attack, especially in early game, right? Her attack will be in... She hit the minion. M for minion. So there, her attack will be on cooldown here. So you have all this time to go in and attack. But you know what the issue is? Even if you begin attacking like really nicely here, your animation has a long time, and maybe she will be able to start her animation of the next attack here. And by the way, I don't know if you knew this, guys, if somebody starts an attack animation and you leave the range of the auto attack will still hit you. If Caitlyn started animating her attack and you flash out, you will still get hit by it. So that means you have only until she begins animating her next attack to get close and hit her before she returns the attack on you. So you don't have that much time, actually. Because it's not like you can wait, okay? It's not like you can wait until here to attack. You don't have all this time. You can only wait until here, because here she will already begin casting it. And you have your own animation to like worry about, which is like, it will be here or whatever. So how do we do this? Well, if we cancel the second half of our attack, let's say that this was our animation, so it like here Caitlyn will respond with an auto attack. But if we cancel the animation, this part of the animation, we can start walking out here, and we can get out of her range sooner. So that's why it matters so much to cancel the animation for auto spacing, because if you do this, then you get out of the range before she can reply the auto. But if you stay for the whole duration, then she replies. See? There I'm staying too long. Okay, so she will replay. But if I do it really fast, like that, okay, she will never replay the auto unless I'm like, you know, shorter range or whatever. But notice how I'm always like getting out of the range as soon as I can, right? Okay, so that's how auto spacing works. Going in and out of the range while cancelling the animation of the auto attack, best thing you can do. Okay. So far, any questions? Okay. By the way, you can unmute and ask. You don't need to type if you have questions. So this is just a tiny visual representation of how the attack speed works. When you increase attack speed, the whole thing shrinks down, both the cooldown and the animation. Okay. So let's talk about cancel versus reset. We already mentioned the cancel. Okay, canceling the animation is good. By the way, what I just told you means, in other words, that the first half of an auto attack animation, okay, if we have the auto attack again. So this is the projectile coming out. The first half of the auto attack animation is the only point in which your champion must not move nor use abilities. Okay, is that clear? In other words, if you kite perfectly, the first half of the animation is the only point in which you shouldn't be able to use anything else, like Kaisa W, like, you know, moving or whatever, because if you do, you will cancel the auto attack. That's literally the only point in the whole input buffer, like a timeline queue thing, that you cannot move. The only point, okay? And it's the only point in which you shouldn't move. Everywhere else, you should be moving, okay? By the way, some abilities don't have an animation, such as Kaisa Q. And the way you know this is, I'm just gonna walk side by side and I'm gonna use my ability. I'm gonna walk here and I'm gonna use my W. And you will see how she stopped when using it. That means that W has an animation. But now I'm gonna do the same with Q. Never stops. See? That means Q doesn't have an animation. That means you can use Q in the middle of an auto attack and it will not cancel. See? Okay? Even inside the W as well. See? Okay, it doesn't cancel it. You can move and use Q. Okay, it's because it doesn't have an animation. Only a handful of abilities in the game don't have an animation. Couple examples: any shields that are instant, Lulu, Janna shield, Zed's E doesn't have an animation. What other one? Stack W I think doesn't have an animation. Only a handful of them don't. Okay. Okay, so remember, cooldown of the auto attack starts ticking after the first part is over, when the projectile is out. Okay, meaning that during the second part of the animation, we are already waiting for the next auto attack, which means we can move or do abilities or whatever we want. We don't have to stand still anymore. Auto attack cancel. So we already mentioned it. So basically, if we go to the graph, this is a bad cancel because you will cancel your auto attack before the projectile is out, and this is a good cancel. Okay. So moving here is bad. If you move here is bad, and moving here is good. Okay. In other words, this is how much distance you will gain by moving after the projectile is out instead of waiting for the full animation. You gain all this extra distance. It's huge, right? It is around, you know, a good 20-30% chunk of additional distance. And when you're chasing someone, additional distance means additional damage. When you're running away from someone, additional distance means less damage taken. This is why we already begin seeing how much damage you're gonna lose or like get dealt more just by moving incorrectly. Okay. So what happens with abilities then? Oh yeah, the reset. So does anyone here not know what an auto attack reset is? So that's a spoiler. So I think most people here know what a reset is, right? Does anyone not know? Or maybe somebody can tell me so I don't have to explain it. Anyone?
Jax has a really good auto attack reset.
Who, sorry?
Jax.
Okay, yeah, with a W.
And then I think Trundle and Old Sivir. I haven't played New Sivir.
Yeah, Seer still has it. But what would you say is a reset? Like, if you had to like make an explanation of what a reset is?
So regular auto attack speed and animation goes like at a pretty predictable pace. But when it comes to like an auto attack reset, it's almost instantaneous, and you can like cancel auto attack animations instantly.
Right. So
Simple,
basically, it
like,
is. Thank you. Yes, yes. So that's a pretty good explanation. So let's go in what it means actually. So basically, it is when we input a command that cancels or restarts the auto attack cooldown. Okay, that's what a reset is. It's restarting the auto attack cooldown. Okay, thus allowing us to auto attack earlier. Okay, it is not the same as an animation cancel, but you can link a cooldown, a reset with a good cancel, and that's the best possible reset you can do. So basically, if you reset here, it is an okay-ish reset. But if you reset mixed with canceling the auto attack animation, then it's the best possible reset. So this is what Rivens do in their combos. They cancel the second half of the animation and then they reset with an ability or with a attack. So in simple terms, this is how it will look if you reset. Here. This is how it will look if you reset correctly, perfectly. In the same amount of time that you would have done 3 auto attacks, you end up doing 4. Just a little bit, one half of an animation longer. That's how much it should take. So say you do 2 auto attacks here. This auto attack animation starts ticking right after a projectile is out. You don't wait for the full animation of this one. So this blue thing here is the first half of this auto attack. It is not the last half of this one, right? Because remember, you can already start inputting additional commands as soon as this projectile is out. And then in this amount of time, if it's perfect, you end up dealing 4 instead of 3 auto attacks, which is, you know, it is huge. It is not a trivial thing. It's like 30% more damage, right? Or 20? I don't know. I'm not good at math. But you get the idea. It is a, a non-low amount of damage. Okay, animations. So this is what I wanted to go over before. So how do they differ from auto attacks? Animations, I mean ability animations, right? So how are they different from auto attack animations? Can anyone tell me? What's the difference between any ability animation and an auto attack animation. What's the main difference? Oh, I got kicked. Unlucky. I'm gonna get into practice tool again. And let's do a melee one now, so we are not biased towards ADCs. What good melee champion can we pick? Lee Sin. Okay, I like Lee Sin. Nice one. He's my best jungler, actually. I can take Conqueror, that's fine. I'm gonna take like random runes here. I'm not gonna get the boots rune because usually we'll get boots, but I can't because I wanna buy boots eventually, right? So how is an auto attack animation different from an ability animation?
My sight may be gone, but my vision holds
Mm.
true.
Somebody's typing. I see. While he's typing, I'm gonna give you a hint. It has to do with canceling the animation. Oh! Okay, so he's saying you can't cancel ability animation, but you can cancel auto attack animation. Okay, he's 80% right. The truth is, the real difference there is when you cancel an auto attack, it doesn't come out. But there's no way to cancel an ability such that it will not come out. Okay? In other words, when you begin casting an ability, it is impossible to cancel that animation in a way that makes the ability not come out. Okay? Like, you can never cast Listen Q and then move and the Q doesn't come out. That's not a thing, okay? So without attacks you can do that, right? Oh, that's a lie. So without attacks you can like cancel it like that. See, I cancelled it. Okay? But abilities, that's not a thing. When I cast a Q, doesn't matter what I click, what I do. Like, it will always come out, okay? Doesn't matter how much I'm clicking. If I'm in animation, it will always come out. Okay? Any ability in the game is like this. In fact, the main difference is abilities have what's called a visual animation and game engine animation. Okay, so game engine animation. The visual animation of an ability is always longer than the game engine animation. Okay. Okay. So the game engine animation of an ability does not let you cancel it no matter what you do. This is the part of the every ability has a point that like a segment of time that no matter how much you click on the ground, no matter how much you flash, no matter how much you try to use another ability, the game doesn't allow you because you are locked in the game engine animation of that ability. Okay. Yeah. We're not going to channeling yet. So these are abilities that don't have channeling. Let's wait a little bit. Let's go slow steps. So in other words, you always have to wait for the full duration of a game engine animation, but you can start moving and cancel it when the game engine animation is over and you're only in the visual part of the animation. So for example, if we go look at, let's say, that's why flashing during ability animations is so powerful. Yeah, and you know why you can flash during abilities animations? Because flash doesn't have an animation itself. So you can use flash inside animations of other things because flash itself doesn't have an animation. The same way I could Kaisa Q while walking, remember? This is the same. Because flash doesn't have an animation, you can use it inside other animations. So remember what I told you. You can only use one. If this is your timeline of your abilities, there's no way you can use two animations at a time in League. It's not a thing. Unless it's like Yasuo AQ, which is coded that way, okay? But how come you can use Flash inside other animations? Well, because Flash doesn't have an animation. Okay? Same for Kaisa Q. So that's why you can like with Lee Sin, everyone knows this. That's why you can E-Flash, right? That's why you can R-Flash. Because it doesn't have an animation. Okay? You can do it with every spell. And so what gives? In the auto attack, I told you like if this was the auto attack animation, I told you wait for the projectile and then you move. Wait for the projectile and then you move. Or you use inputs and and commands here. You don't do anything here. Well, with abilities, it's almost the same. You wait for the game engine animation because you have no other choice. It's not like you can do anything about it. And then you move or do anything else. But you don't wait. So this would be the full visual animation. And this will be only the game engine animation. So you can move when the game engine animation is over on any abilities. So for example, with Lee Sin Q, you don't have to wait until the full duration of the Q is over and Lee Sin like puts his feet down to start moving. You can move faster. Same for E. That's why it's so good to spam your clicks. After E, you just start spamming and you move faster. Whereas if you wait for the full duration of it, it's way slower. Okay. Perhaps Lee Sin might not be the best one to show you this because his animations are fairly fast. Also with Lee, I think it's important to note that ability timing with ult is different than with other abilities. Like how you can buffer his ult and then flash. But with his Q it's instant then... What? Buffer his ult and flash? Well, that's because he has a channeling time. Yeah, okay, no. You're getting confused there. So the reason that works is the following. In League of Legends, certain abilities are coded to be used. So if this is the ability animation, and this is the game mentioned finishing the animation, certain abilities in League of Legends are coded so that the effect they have is your position when you finish the animation, such as Lee Sin ult. That's why if you flash during this, the game will take into account where you are while you finish the flash, when you finish the animation, okay? And certain abilities in League are coded so that the effect of the ability takes into account your initial position of the animation. So if you Q and then flash, it will come out in the same spot that you were before the flash. Why? Because that ability is coded so that it throws it from where you are when you initiated the animation. Okay? Whereas with the ult, it is programmed so that it kicks someone from the point where you are when you finish the ult animation. That's why if you ult and then flash, it will kick the guy the other way, okay? Is that clear? That's because of how the ability itself is programmed. Where it's programmed to take into account your position at the beginning or at the end of the animation. So Kaisa Q is different. For example, if you do this with Kaisa W, if you do this with Kaisa W, it will come out from where you are when you finish the flash. Okay? Because it's programmed like Lee Sin's ult. Okay, thank you. And so your flash will also cancel a lot of things, right? Like, and other abilities, remember how I told you, other abilities will cancel your animations as well. So like you can do this and really fast Q, and you see how my Q came out from here, not from the end. Why? Because I cancelled my W animation with my Q animation and it comes from that point. And the same happens the other way around. Oh, I can move. The same happens the other way around. If I Q and then W, like I don't get to hit to there. So it happens both ways, right? You can like, and it's like a tiny curved one. I don't know if you saw that. See, it's like tiny curved one. And you can even do it with flash, right? Oh. Yeah, and you never hit the guy. Or whatever. So, as you can see, any animation that I'm using cancels the previous one. The champion cannot do two things at once. Remember, League of Legends champions do only one thing at a time, and certain animations are allowed to cancel other animations and put themselves in the priority in the queue. But that doesn't mean that you're doing two things at once ever. Unless it is either programmed that way, such as Yasuo EQ, or your ability has no animation, such as Flash. Okay? So you can, like, of course, double in Flash or whatever. People that play Fiverr know this way too well. Well, yeah, but that's the idea, that you understand that this works for every champion, because this is a way to create your own combos instead of having to go into YouTube and searching for your champion's combos. Like, I never searched for releasing combos, but it's fairly obvious, like, how you can... I don't know, for example, let's say that you wanna... I don't know if you knew this, but... Oh, it's too far away. You can cancel the Q there, see, and you never get to that guy. So it's really good to, like, not having to wait for the full animations of things, right? Okay, leaving that aside. Oh yeah, the other really good thing about this is, for example, when you're jungling, since you don't have to wait for the full animation of things, only for the game engine animation, one really good part about this for jungling, for example. So let's say you're doing this, it's gonna be fairly slow because I don't have a jungle item. So let's say that you wanna kill these guys, right? Let's leave them with 1 HP each. I'm gonna eat my cookies. So this is a way that you can like make animations way smoother. It's like, let's say that you wanna go to a red buff now. You can just hit the red buff. And that's a really slow one, right? You saw how I used the E and then I used the Q on the red buff, and it was fairly slow. Like I waited for the full duration of E and then I went to red buff. But if you wanna do it faster, let's get the jungle item because I almost died. See there, I auto-attacked and I cancelled the auto-attack animation with the Q. I don't know if you saw that. But then you can do the same thing here. So let's kill this guy first. So let's say you wanna go red buff, so you do this. See, and you don't wait for the full... Oh, I killed twice because I have cooldowns off. But I don't wait for the full duration of the E here. I like instantly go. So if you see it here, see, you don't wait for the full animation of the E. You only wait for the smaller game engine animation of the E. And this is not just a Lee Sin thing. This is a thing with every champion. I did it with Malphite the other day. I'm gonna show you. You can do it with every champion, okay? It's about not waiting for full animations of things and start moving and start inputting faster. You will end up doing more damage because it's more amount of abilities, more attacks. Oh, I do that every game. It's not a risk actually. With Lee Sin, that's how you clear. That's the Lee Sin clear. You should do it every game. It's not a risk. So with you can even do it with Malphite. I will show you. Okay. Animations don't have a bad cancel, okay? If you can cancel an ability and animation, go for it. The thing is, the game doesn't let you do it a lot of the time because you are in the locked part of the animation. Okay? So we'll go over the smart rules to improve now. But first I wanna take some questions if anyone has any doubt so far. I feel the more comfortable you get with a champion, but that's the thing. The takeaway in this session is that I want to teach you things that apply to every champion, and you get comfortable with every champion doing it. So for example, the other day, first time Nyla, and I did it anyway because it's just how the game is programmed, okay? So I don't want you to think that this is just like, oh, a leasing combo. It's not a leasing combo, it's how the game is programmed, okay? That's the takeaway here. Anyway, boots. Gonna buy... I don't know. So you can even do it with Malphite. So if you wait for a full duration, that's really slow, right? But what if we do something like... See? Like we don't wait for a full animation. And what about doing something like... See how I auto-attacked that guy twice and I already ulted? Did anyone see that? That was really fast, right? See? You see the auto-attack reset into ult immediately because I don't wait for full animations of things. Okay, you don't wait for full animations, and I'm doing it on the other target so you see the movement, but you would do it in a single guy, right? So you would do something like, I don't know, like you would approach from far away, you would like do this and right. The same for E. You're not waiting ever for the full animation of things, okay? Is that clear? Or there, see? Because as soon as you can input abilities, you should do it. You don't have to wait for a full visual thing. And for E, okay. I feel the more... Oh, I already read that. Okay, so now I want to go into some tips and rules that you will apply from now on in your games that are going to be really, really nice. I actually started writing them one by one, but then I thought we're going to write them in the session itself, but I have them in my phone so you don't see them. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we're going to talk about inputs a lot here. So there are 3 types of inputs that you can use to auto attack. Actually, we're going to do it with range champion. So I already had some top laner fan service, so no more top lane fan service. I'm sorry. This is now an ADC only stream. Just kidding. And let's pick. So we go with Paris. He has like a. It's like a easy to see projectile. That's why I'm gonna pick him.
The guilty will know agony.
I'm getting runes that don't change my attack speed or my damage. Okay. I don't have a Varus skin. I was flexing my prestige, guys, but I don't have a Varus skin. Okay.
I do what I must.
So there are 3 types of auto attack inputs that you will use, that you can use. People always ask me, which one should I use? In my opinion, all 3. Personally, I use all 3 of them. So everybody knows we have the normal right click. So in my opinion, it's the best one for increased DPS. But at the same time, it is the hardest one, right? Because if you misclick, you will walk to a guy, you will miss an auto attack window, right? Like if you do this, but misclick or whatever, you will walk to him. And also, a lot of people have this issue, right? Like there's 4 people and you want to hit the one in the back and you misclick on the front. So a lot of people dislike right click. I think it's very powerful. And I think you should use it a lot. But I also use A click a lot. So A click, as most people know here, when you press A, it will show your attack range, and then you left click instead of right click. And it will shoot whoever is closer to where you clicked, or depends on where you have the option. This is an option, by the way. You go to game, attack move on cursor. If this is activated, when you A click, it will hit whoever is closer to your cursor.
Only cowards flee their fate.
Okay? Whereas if you deactivate this, it will hit whoever is close to you, no matter where you click. Okay? So which one should you use? In my opinion, there's no point in having this off if you're gonna attack movies, because you wanna hit whoever is close to your cursor. And if you have this off, somebody puts a ward near you and you hit the ward. So, and I actually saw it in even pro games sometimes. But yeah, like I think A click with the attack move on cursor, it's the best way, because you still. Also, if you use the other way, you like get in the habit of not even aiming at people, because you can do this. You can like kite by doing this and not even aiming at the guy, right? And you get in the habit of not aiming at people, and then you're gonna misclick a lot when you need to aim. So, in my opinion, that has to be on. If your attack range doesn't show when you press A, it's because you gotta go to interface and show attack range in ability and attack display. Okay. Another thing that you should have on is this, enable line missile display. Otherwise, when you press Varus Q, well, not Varus Q, that's a bad example. Varus doesn't have an example. Oh yeah, the ult. Yeah. I think this is a good example. So if you don't have this, when I press Alt, it's a circle. But if I have this, when I press Alt, it's like this, see? So that's much better in my opinion. I don't see how you would aim your ult like this. Feels really awkward, I guess. No. Yeah, that's really bad, see, because the thing about this is it doesn't tell you the thickness of your own ult. So you think you're aiming at that guy, but you're not. Because you don't know how thick your ult is. But if you do this, you would notice that your ult is super thick, see? And you would know that you will have to hit it like that, maybe. Not even there, even a bit. Let's see if I can hit him. That's so thick. Oh my god, thick boy. There we go. Okay. But you would never know that unless you activate the missile line display. Like that. Okay. So that's the second way of auto attacking. And then there's a third way that I use a lot. I use it mostly in high attack speed situations, like when I have lethal tempo full build or something. And it is this one, hotkeys, player movement, I think it is. Yeah, player movement and player attack move click, and it's by default shift right click. But I'm gonna tell you a little secret. I have it on mouse button 4. That is my thumb. But why do I have it in my thumb? I'm gonna show you a cheat here. So by accident I had this off for the longest time, and I think what I actually did for me was help me a bit more accurate aiming without the indicators, but I might try this. I wouldn't recommend having it off ever. Because it's not about the aiming, it's about the thickness of the hitbox. The thing I showed you, right? Like, when you do this, you know the thickness. If you don't, you never know the exact thickness pixel perfect. So anyway, the thing I told you here, player attack, move, click, and I have it in my thumb, mouse button 4. I'm gonna show you how strong that is. I'm gonna buy like the most godforsaken build ever just to have some attack speed. I wanna have attack speed without crit, that's why. But ability shoot faster when it's of no. That's what you're describing there is what's called Smartcast, which is this. No, sorry, this one. When I disable this one, now the ult, see, I throw the ult without even aiming it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is here in the bottom. Enable missile line display. The only thing this setting changes is when it's on, I see the thickness, and when it's off, I don't see a thickness, see? I see a circle without the thickness. So I don't know the thickness of my own hitbox. I know I'm saying that word a lot. I like saying it. Shut up. So, don't shut up, I'm kidding. So, this little cheat that I don't know anyone else that uses it, but it's really nice for ADC or for high attack speed champions in general. For mages too. So now, this is what it does. This key, player attack, move, click, allows you to hit enemies like this, like A click. You know how A click hits the one closer to your cursor? It's the same, but you don't have to A click first. It's only one input. So look, I click here with my thumb, mouse button 4, and it hits the guy closer to the cursor, okay? And I don't have to press A click or anything. So why do I have it on my thumb? Because if I'm running away from someone, I put my mouse here, and I click once with my right click, and once with my thumb. Once with my right click, and once with my thumb. And I don't even move my mouse. I don't move my mouse at all, and look. See? Without moving my mouse ever.
I do what I must.
See that? Okay. How how cheating is that? This is kind of cheating, right? You can even do it side by side. It's really nice. And that's only, I'm only using my right hand. My left hand is scratching my nose right now.
Wait, what setting is that?
Ah, you liked it. So it is this one. Player attack, move, click on mouse button 4. So I'm gonna show you a clip where I'm using this setting. In fact, I'm going to show you a clip where I use all 3 settings. It's a clip where I start attacking with one setting, then I change to the other depending on the situation. When I have to kite a Nocturne, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So see how I'm using right click to hit the tower? Okay. And now Akali comes, and I will slowly switch to, I think it's somewhere around here. Yeah. So look at this. I want you to see my cursor now and notice how I'll be using the right click into thumb click, the one I just showed you. Look, see? I'm kiting perfectly, and now look at how I kite this Nocturne with that setting. See? It looks like I'm scripting, right? And now I switch to like normal clicks or right clicks because now it's like a more controlled scenario. See? That's right click only. Just because it's lower attack speed and... But see how it looks like scripting, right? I get called a scripter a lot because of this. It's like pretty perfect kiting, right? With like 3.5 attack speed. 3.5. Right? And it's really nice for Kalista. I don't have Kalista in this account, but with Kalista you don't even need the right click. You just press the thumb and she like moves wherever you're going while attacking at the same time. It's like cheating. But yeah, I wish I could make some of these enemies move, so you could see how it looks like when somebody's chasing. I guess I can do it with. Yeah. Okay, you don't even need to move the mouse. But to be fair, I don't do this unless I have like 3.5 like with Jinxter, because at 3.5 attack speed, the act of moving your mouse back and forth means that you're gonna kite at less than 3.5. It's a way to maximize your attack speed when you're like at 3.5. But if I'm like 1.8 right now, it's really low for me. You can just right click, right? Okay. So what are the rules before we finish? With all of this in mind, I'm gonna teach you rules. Oh, but by the way, before I say the rules, when you click on someone out of your range, you know that you walk in a straight line, right, guys? Just keep that in mind. I want to teach you something here. Remember how I told you that when you hit someone from out of your range, sorry, when you hit someone with an auto attack, you can hit them in the border of their hitbox? Remember when I told you that? There's a bug in League of Legends. Is that attack move without the range indicator? Is this one. Player attack, move, click. I'm gonna type it. So, player attack, move, click, and before. That's it. Okay. I'm gonna show you a bug that exists in League that I discovered. So look at this. Remember how I told you that you can hit enemies from the border of their hitbox? There's a bug that if you click on someone that is out of your range, your champion goes and hits them, right? Remember that? Like, if you're out of the range, your champion walks in a straight line and hits them. There's a bug that actually, instead of hitting them at the border of the hitbox, you think, like, you would think that when you click on someone out of your range, you will hit them at the max possible range, right? Well, no, there's a bug that, depending on the server tick rate and the ping you have and things like that, the server like checks whether you are in range or not at set intervals, depending on like the hit rate of the server. And so it is random. Actually, sometimes you will hit the enemy here because only here the server notices that you're inside of that range. In other words, look at this. I'm gonna click on him out of the range, right? And you would think that I'm gonna hit at max range, right? But I'm gonna press A. I hit him once and he didn't move, right? I'm gonna press A and I want you guys to see the range that I'm at. Look at that. I'm deep inside the guy's hitbox, look. This is not the range where I should be hitting, right? This is not the max range. Look at this. I can actually move out and keep hitting. Look at how much range I lost just because of clicking on him from out of the range. This is because, even though I could have hit here, the server only realized that I could hit when I was here. And it's random. You do this 10 times and it will be different points. It will be like here, 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 but always inside the hitbox. It will be always wrong. Do you guys see how big this is? Like, I made some calculations by taking this picture into Photoshop. You're losing 29 range on every champion by clicking out of anyone's range. 29. And by the way, with an ADC like Varus, 29 is not that much. But if you're like Leona with 120 range, 29 is like a fourth of your range. You're like losing an insane amount of range, 25% of range. And how do we avoid this? Have you ever seen someone chasing someone else and they are the very edge of the range and they like cancel the auto attack and keep chasing and they don't hit them? You know why that happens? Because you're inputting a lot of commands out of the range, and like instead of hitting at the border of the range, the server wants you to go deeper to hit even though you were already in range, and then you click again and it notices that you were already in range and it starts channeling, but then you click again and it says no, I want to go deeper. And so if you click on someone out of the range many times, your range will change by a lot. So look, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna click on him from out of my range. And I'm gonna press A. See, I'm closer now, but I'm still not at the very edge. This is because I got a lucky packet this time, but it's still not the very edge. Look, I can go further out. See, I'm further out and I'm still hitting. I moved like 10 units and I'm still hitting. That means that if I click someone out of the range, I'm never using my max range, ever, okay? So there's a rule here that I want to tell you. Never, ever, ever use an auto attack on somebody who is out of your range. Instead, what you do if you're chasing someone, you never do this, okay? That is super bad, because the champion loses 30 range. What you will do instead is you will actually press A lot, and when you see that the border touches him, see, I can auto attack. See that? That's cheating, isn't it? My range is now higher. I promise you, if I clicked from here, Varus would have gone like to this point before he auto attacks. That's insane, right? But it's like how the game works. Old game engine, I guess, and low server tick rate. That's what's gonna happen. So let's go with the rules before we finish. So rule number 1, it's just a tiny amount of rules, so you keep in mind. Rule number, I actually wrote 4 of them here, but the 4 others I have them on my phone because I wanted you to think. So rule number 1, we're gonna input only 1 auto attack input per each auto attack. What does this mean? If we go back to the graph of the auto attacks, remember guys? This is thick. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not saying that word on purpose. So if this is your auto attack, from now on, I don't care if you use right click, mouse button 4, or A click, or whatever you use. I'm gonna say right click, but from now on, when I say the word right click, just in your mind, substitute it with whatever you use to auto attack, okay? So you're only gonna right click once per each auto attack. You're only allowed to right click, so if this is the animation, you're only allowed to right click once, and it has to be perfectly here, okay? One right click, well, on the target, right? On right click on target. This is a rule, okay? Rule number 1 for perfect guiding and perfect auto attack mechanics with any champion. By the way, this matters even if you're playing Janna. If you wanna like poke with Janna in lane, it is not only for ADCs, okay? This matters for Riven, matters for top laners, matters for Malphite, matters for anyone. Especially, I would say the champions affected by this the most, probably like auto-attacking junglers like Trundle, Shyvana, Nocturne. Because losing 30 range and losing a bunch of damage and DPS on those is very bad, because it's the only thing they have. That's rule number 1. 1 right click per auto-attack. Rule number 2. This auto-attack input, so this right click, has to be perfectly timed inside the first half of the animation, not early and not late. You know why? Can anyone tell me what would happen if I auto-attack only once, which is correct, but instead of auto-attacking perfectly here, I auto-attack too early, like here. Right click on the enemy here, before the auto-attack is ready. Means cancel the auto-attack? No, it doesn't. You probably end up moving before the auto happens. So if by end up you mean stop, yes. So that's what happens. If you click here, your champion will stop moving this whole duration until the auto attack is ready. So if we go back to the graph I showed you before, if you right click, I don't know why I did a turn some noise. If you instead of right clicking on the enemy here, you do it here, you're gonna stop moving all this duration until the auto attack is ready. So look at how this looks. This is my auto attack cooldown. So this is how auto attacking perfectly looks like. I'm always waiting for the end of my cooldown, and I'm always canceling the auto attack animation. It's really smooth, right? It's like I don't even stop moving ever. See that? Okay. But now look at what happens if I click too early before my auto attack is ready. I want you to focus on my champion's movement now. See how I stop moving? Because my champion will stop moving until the auto attack is ready, okay? Look. See? I'm not moving. So, if I click too early, my champion is gonna move less distance. So if I'm chasing this guy, I'm exaggerating the effect so you get an idea of what I mean, but you can see with the scuttle cry, if I click too early, see how he's getting away from me because I'm clicking too early? That's crazy. It looked like you had a higher attack speed. Right. It is. That's what I mean. You are losing stats. Remember at the beginning of the session, I told you are losing stats because you don't know how to input abilities and attacks. So this is what I meant. So let's see the both waves. This is me canceling animation of the auto attack and clicking at the perfect moment. Oh, I canceled one XD. right? It looks like I'm never stopping, right? See? But now I'm gonna actually click too early and you will see a difference. See? See how far away he gets from me? And now I gotta chase him. And you know what? Because he got out of my range and I have to chase him, that's the damage that I will be losing now. I will be losing damage because I have to chase because I clicked too early. Okay? So, click too early, lose distance. And lose distance means lose damage or take more damage. If you're running away from someone and you click too early, that will mean that you actually get hurt more. Okay? So, can anyone tell me what happens if you click too late? So instead of clicking here, like I told you, you click here, kinda late. Any ideas? What happens if I click late instead of early? Lose DPS, perfect. Why do you lose DPS? Not maximizing number of attacks. Perfect, yes. So you are gonna lose DPS. So both ways you're gonna end up losing DPS, because if you lose distance, it translates into losing DPS. So clicking late is not as bad as clicking early, because clicking late you lose DPS, but not distance. In fact, you gain distance. Clicking early, you lose both DPS and distance. So the way I can show you this is look at the... there's a really easy way to show you this. So this dummy, I'm gonna hit at the most maximum amount of damage possible up until 1,000 or something, or like, yeah, 1,000. So even if I move, if I click at the right time, right, 113 DPS. And now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get to 1,000 damage again, but I'm gonna click late now. I'm intentionally clicking late. It's barely noticeable, but I'm clicking like 10% late. See the DPS I lost? Just by clicking late. Okay. This is another way people lose DPS. So sometimes you wanna click late on purpose, because sometimes, let's say that Nocturne is about to fear you, and if you click late on purpose, it means you run a bit farther away and you get out of the Nocturne fear. That is perfectly fine. That is what we call the two types of kiting. You have damage kiting and distance kiting, right? Damage kiting is the kiting that I've been teaching you all along here. So damage kiting is maximizing the amount of autoattacks, whereas distance kiting would be like intentionally auto-attacking later just to move more. But distance kiting... oh, so that's a perfect example actually. I think here on the Nocturne, I intentionally didn't auto-attack him to get far away from his fear. So that would be... yeah, here, see, I didn't auto-attack and I run. So I skipped auto-attacks, but that's on purpose, right? To dodge his fear. And now, after we are out of his fear, we switch to damage kiting, which is maximizing the amount of auto-attacks, right? Okay. Oh my god, I'm lost. Patch notes here. Okay, next rule. Only a couple left and it's over. Never use an ability or auto attack input as a means of movement. This is a huge one. This is in fact one that I was meaning to do a full video about it, because I think this is the #1 mistake people do in lower elo in terms of mechanics. What do you think that means? Well, it means, let's say Varus doesn't have a point and click ability. That's okay. I'm gonna do it with auto attack. Let's say that I wanna auto attack this guy. If I click on him, what I'm doing is I'm using the auto attack as a means of movement, am I not? I want to move to the... so where can I auto attack? Let me see. Right. So I want to move here, and instead of moving there and then auto attacking, I'm using the auto attack to move there, see? And this happens as well if I had... well, I don't have an... maybe with the E. Oh no, but the E doesn't allow me to use it further away. I don't think I can show this with Varus, but imagine an EQ, right, for example, or TF gold card. If I use it out of the range, I'm essentially using an EQ to move to the place where I want to use it. So never use abilities nor auto attacks as a means of movement. We already saw one reason why you're gonna lose distance, okay? Yeah, sorry, you're gonna lose range, remember? But there's another reason why. When you use an auto attack as a means of movement like this, you are letting the enemy dictate your pathing, okay? So if this guy is not moving, obviously, but if I click on an enemy that is moving, or I use an ability on an enemy that is moving out of my range, they are gonna be the ones dictating where I go, not me. Because if they move here, my champion will move in sort of a curve to follow that. And we never want to let the enemies dictate our own movements, right? So it's basically like if we use an ability or attack on an enemy, like a targeted ability or attack on an enemy out of our range, basically like they are a truck and we are like the trailer behind them and we always follow whatever movements they do. I know, right? 5-head metaphor. And what's the bad thing about being a trailer behind them? 1, the truck always decides the movement of the trailer. 2, the trailer always moves after the truck has already moved with a delay. When the trailer curves on a curve, sorry, when the truck does a curve, the trailer only does it a while after. But you're always not predicting where he will go, but rather you're always like following his movement with a delay. And 3, a trailer can never get closer than this distance from the truck. And this is the same. If I click on a guy, by clicking on someone, you can never get closer than the max range. Look. How can I get closer? I can't. Okay. Same for abilities. How if this was an EQ and I use it on him, I can never, ever, ever get closer. Okay. So this is number 1 mistake that junglers do when pathing. They will come bot. And they will, like, your Ashivana, actually, let me, Varus is not a good, like, example of this. So we'll do jungle fan service. So do you guys understand why that's a rule? What do we have in the jungle? Oh, we have like a huge pool. Yeah, let's show with Nocturne, I think. Okay. And I'm gonna explain. But then, rule number 4. Click as close to your character as you can when moving, dodging, guiding, fighting, etc. Also, if you're chasing like that, it gives... Yeah, perfect, because you're running a straight line to them, and if that's a Morgana, you will get hit by the Morgana Q no matter what, because you're going in a straight line to them. But that also goes hand in hand with them dictating your own movement, right? But what I wanted to show here... let me buy boots first. So if this is the enemy, most of my... I'm actually about to release a video on this topic. Most of my student junglers... In fact, this year I coached like 350 sessions, and I think like 30 or 40% of them were junglers. Like, jungles are the role that looks for the coaching the most, even though it's the least played role. That's interesting. But anyway, the mistake they do is they will come to a gank and they will do this. That's so bad. Many reasons why. 1, you're always gonna position yourself behind the enemy. You can never get in front of the enemy by clicking on them, remember? Like, if I want to put myself ahead of them, I have to click on the ground ahead of them, okay? Always. 2, when you click on someone, you're not going to where they want to be. You're going to where they are now. So have you guys ever played PUBG? When you shoot someone far away, you like predict where they will be when the bullet lands, right? Same thing here. You have to go where the enemy will be when you get there, not where he is now, right? Because if you go here, by the time you reach here, he will be already here, and now you're behind him, chasing always. This is our huge way you lose attack damage and stuff. But then, same goes for the fear. Never do this, right? If I do this, I'm also doing the same thing. Like, I'm using my fear as a means of movement, okay? Instead of being on the ground ahead of them and only using the fear when I'm there, okay? Because another bad thing about it is once you reach the fear range, the champion stops, look. See? With an EQ as well. Whereas if you like decide your own movement for yourself, if you fear, it never stops, see? So this is why it's so important to... There are a million reasons why I could keep going, but just apply this rule. Never use any attacks or targeted ability inputs as a means of movement, okay? When you want to move, you click the ground. And you should only use an ability when it's an ability or attack when it's off cooldown and in range. These two conditions have to be met for you to input an ability or attack command. Otherwise, your champion is gonna do weird stuff like moving in straight lines, standing still, or going behind enemies instead of in front. Okay? Is that clear? Very, 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 very important. Cannot stress this enough. So again, if you're this also comes hand in hand with you not using your auto attacks in the wrong timings, right? Because it will not be off cooldown. Remember when I told you what happens if you auto attack early? That is auto attacking when the attack is on cooldown, right? Okay. So fifth rule, where I have my notes here. 1 second, pulling up my notes. Yeah, so fifth rule, really short and sweet. We have only 5 minutes left. So fifth rule, use S key a lot to start move instead of clicking or attacking. So learn to use S key a lot. So for example, if I want to get in this bush and go to the very edge of the bush, this is a really bad way of doing it because it's not very controlled, right? S key is your friend. You do this. See how I got in the very edge of it? I'm using S key, sorry. Okay. So as well, I don't know if you knew this, when you get rooted by a Morgana under tower, you will instantly attack something that is close to you, and sometimes you hit the enemy accidentally, and you will get tower aggro. But if you get rooted and you spam your S key, you don't hit anyone, and basically that's really good because 1, you don't get in auto attack cooldown, wasting an auto attack, and 2, you don't get tower aggro. So fall in love with S keys, they are really good. S key is stop, by the way. It stops whatever animation or movement you're doing. Range fundamentals, okay. Then use max range of attacks and or abilities unless chasing. So this is fairly obvious, but if you're gonna kite this guy, well, this is not a good example because I'm melee, but imagine I'm ranged. If I'm gonna kite this guy and fight him, unless he's running away, at which point I want to chase, if you're Jinx or Varus, you would like... What is the reason we like hit side by side? It's because by going side by side, we keep the enemy at the same range always. So you want to keep enemies at a range where they cannot go into you or away from you. So if imagine I'm Varus, okay? If this is Varus attack range, if I keep him kinda here, if he walks to me, I can react and walk away. And if he walks out, I can react and chase. So this is like this is what's called the sweet spot range, okay? You can see it in my image here. Okay. So this bright zone here, you know how it's brighter there? That's called the sweet spot range. It's where you want to keep enemies. Not in the very edge like I'm doing now. Because here, if they move away, you know what's going to happen? If I hit enemies here, when he walks out and I was channeling my auto, my champion will follow them in a straight line and I will get hit by skills. In fact, this is how you can bait a lower elo at ADC. You play Zyra or Lux and you allow them to auto attack you at the max range, and as soon as they are about to auto attack you, you walk out and they will follow you in a straight line and you throw the Zyra E and they get hit. So this is why as ADC you wanna, or as any range champion, you wanna keep enemies in your sweet spot. Why is this a sweet spot? They are not close enough to melee out attack you, and they are not further enough to pull you like a trailer. So this is a sweet spot. You can always react to what you can do. Okay? Sweet spot range. Learn about the sweet spot range. So this is sweet spot. And we have only 2 left. So this is another one that we already mentioned. Is never, I'm not gonna explain it, never wait for the full animation of your auto attack and ability. So this was for auto attack, it was, remember, it was the after projectile, and ability after animation. So don't wait for the visual, we already mentioned that. And last one, it is path. Okay, so use right click on ground many times and path in front of where you wanna go. So I already kind of went over this one. So never do this. For example, only one click where the enemy is. Never do this. So we're gonna go in front of them and many times on the ground. So learn to like increase your APM by clicking a lot on the ground at all times. The ground is your friend, okay? Use the clicks on the ground a lot. Your champion has to be like constantly moving really smoothly like I'm doing, see? Okay. Okay, so that was all the rules, and that's pretty much all there was in this session. And for people who want to stay, I'm going to show you a drill where you can practice this, but only for people who want to stay. I know that we are a bit over time, so please don't kill me, Dylan. And if you have any questions, anything you would like to mention. I did record everything. So these rules, maybe I can put them in the chat later or something like that. I didn't put a lot of effort into making them very nice to see. Maybe there's a way to like write them with like more fluid English. And by the way, I didn't really explain this one, right? The clicking close to your champion. Maybe somebody can tell me why I wrote that. Thank you guys. I'm gonna be doing the drill now for whoever wants to watch, and for whoever wants to stay for the drill, I encourage you to get into practice to do it with me. But guys, can anyone answer why did I say this one? The click close to your character. What does that do? There are 3 or 4 reasons why. So you might find any of them. Faster reaction, yes. Keep you at max by clicking close to my champion. The rule is click as close to your champion as you can and as many times as you can. Like this. Give the enemy smaller chance. Yeah, makes you unpredictable. True, true, true. Waits a lot of kill shots. Okay, so a lot of what you're saying is like the effect of clicking closer, but not the like the causes of what causes that, so to speak. So I'm gonna explain. So we're gonna get into pseudoscience realm for a second, okay? But bear with me. You know how I told you that I played 2 World Cups in Osu and I've been playing esports for a long time, so I know a lot about like having high APM, right? So people might look at a League of Legends Korean pro player and think he has high APM like Faker, but that's like baby steps compared to a Smash pro player, which I'm not, or Osu pro player or top player, which I was. Things like that. It's very, very different, right? And so there's this thing called APM, right? Everyone knows it, like the buzzword, actions per minute. The thing, the way it works basically is like, for the brain, it is easier to keep a rhythm when you play. The brain is really good at keeping rhythms. And so if you want to use as little resources as you want, what the brain will do is like keep like a certain rhythm of APM and always click at that rhythm. And sometimes accelerate it in a fight or whatever, but you know, it will be sort of a consistent rhythm. This means that if, remember how the frames of a monitor work? If you have frames in a monitor, these are the frames of your monitor. Even if something happens here, you will not see it until the next frame. So this is why, for example, playing with 60 FPS and vertical sync is so bad, because when you have 60 FPS and vertical sync, the delay between 2 frames is 16 milliseconds. That means you have a 60 millisecond additional lag to whatever lag you have. Right? So that's how the monitor works, right? Similarly, the APM works in a similar way. Even if an enemy's kill shots come here, usually it's not as rigid as the monitor, but usually you would only dodge it, or you will only react on an input around it when the next, let's call it, frame of your APM comes. The reason I said this is sort of pseudoscience is because it's not like the brain has a frame rate, but it is just easier for the brain to keep a rhythm when you play. That's basically all there is to it. So what's the bad part about this? Well, if there's a Morgana here and you get jump scared, so I got called a scripter yesterday when I was playing because I got like kind of jump scared by a, I think it was a Morgana actually, and I dodged it really fast and they were like, but I came out of the vision, you didn't see me before, therefore it's just a script reacting, not you. Well, thing is, if your APM is low, you will have to wait, the Morgana Q comes here, you will have to wait until here when you dodge. Whereas, if you intentionally make your APM really high, you increase the chances of having the random Morgana Q that comes out of vision land in one of your APM beats or frames or whatever you want to call it. In other words, you're increasing the chances of reacting to stuff just faster, okay? You're increasing your reflexes. So what does this have to do with clicking closer? Well, when you click closer to your champion, you force yourself to increase APM, because look at this. Let's say I tell you, walk to the vision cone, clicking far away from the champion. So it takes not a lot of clicks, right? Now let's say I ask you to do the same thing, but clicking close to your champion. How many clicks does this take now? Right? By clicking close to a champion, you allow yourself to have higher APM. You can trade yourself in practice. So if you do this, I tell you to click back and forth really far away as fast as you can. This is as fast as I can. I promise you I'm not faking it. This is as fast as I can go. Clicking far away. Now let's look at how fast I can go clicking close. See the difference? The champion turns much faster now, right? Because the mouse has to travel less distance. Okay. And there's another reason why you click close to a champion. It is because you avoid walking in straight lines. When I told you walk here, clicking far away, this is a straight line. See? If I click close, I can actually like decide, right? You see that? And so because the mouse will be closer to your champion also, if this is a Morgana, she throws a Q here. If I was keeping the mouse really far away, I have to move all of this distance to dodge. Like I'm exaggerating the effect, but it's like not really fast. Whereas if I'm clicking close, I dodge immediately, see? And not only that, because I was having a more APM, it will also be more instant. Less time and less distance. Okay? Is that clear? When I'm walking near and where the bushes, I do this kind of basketball. What? Where I do a double side step just in case a random enemy. Oh yeah, you mean when you're coming here and you don't know if there's Morgana. I do it when I go bot lane. If I leash, when I leash here and then I go bot lane in high elo, because a lot of the time they will cheese the bush, you just come here and do kind of like that, because maybe they are waiting in the bush to cheese. Yeah, that's what you mean. Okay, so that was all there was to that. So people here are up for the drill. Everyone here up for the drill. People got into practice tool. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you how. Wait. Champion, you can choose your own champion, but I will tell you what champions you need to avoid for the first time. So avoid champions that have like DPS changes, like Kai'Sa passive in the Autoattacks, Nocturne passive as well, so avoid that. Avoid Kai'Sa passive, avoid Nocturne passive, avoid if you choose Vayne or Jinx, don't level up Vayne W or Jinx Q. So we're gonna try your DPS and damage to not change, okay? What happened, River Shen, that you said nah? In game. Okay. So you can go to practice tool, and for mine I'm gonna pick, which one am I gonna pick? I'm gonna do a melee one. You can do it with range, it's the same. I'm gonna pick Xingqiu for mine. So for runes, I'm choosing like all the green tree so that I don't have DPS changes and like cookies and time warp. One attack speed rune is fine though, so you have a little bit of attack speed. So like this basically. So it's a drill that you're gonna use for both warm-up. It's a good warm-up, and at the same time it's a good like mechanics practice, just basically. Do you actually play River Shen? Okay. So don't buy items, and we're gonna do the easiest way first, which is just get level. We're gonna level between 3 and 4. I'm gonna do it with level 3. And what I'm gonna do is place a dummy. So the first thing you do in the drill is you're gonna measure your max DPS. How do you measure your max DPS? Just by clicking and letting your champion hit. If you don't move, This is the maximum DPS that your champion can get. I can give my computer to Faker and he will not get more DPS than this. It is impossible, okay? This is the maximum, even if I do this, it's the same. Maximum amount of DPS that you can do. I'm gonna press S key at 1000 damage. There we go. So my maximum DPS is 61 at 1000 damage. Always measure it first. So now what you gotta do is apply most of the rules I gave you while still getting this. Oh, somebody broke something. While still getting the maximum DPS and damage. So what you're gonna do is move a lot, click close to your champion, back and forth. I don't want you to do this, always clicking in one direction and the other because that's really easy. Between each auto attack, you should move back and forth a lot. You're gonna cancel your auto attack animation like I taught you. And you're gonna try to hit in the perfect timing. So click on the dummy only once. Remember, only one click has to be in the perfect timing because remember, the rules are don't stop moving and don't lose DPS. So if you click too early, your champion's gonna stop moving. You broke the rules. If you click too late, your DPS is gonna be lower at 1000. You broke the rules. So how should this look like? See how I'm canceling the animation and I always move? Like it's really smooth, right? And I'm clicking only once, I'm clicking side by side. Okay? So you do this until 1k. Not gonna do it every time because it's boring, but you do this until 1k and you should get the same DPS. I was getting the same perfect DPS because I'm getting more. If you get lower DPS, it means you're hitting too late or canceling auto attacks. So I've never had a student that gets perfect DPS and doesn't break the rules, ever. So it's gonna take a while, but you know what that means? It means that in real games, you're losing damage and distance. That's what it means. So basically, your champion should look very smooth. Okay, like I'm doing here. I'm gonna let it reset. See how I'm like not even letting him channel the full auto attack animation, right? Okay. So I even got high. I don't know how I got higher. But anyway, I'm getting the perfect DPS at 1k. That means that even though I'm moving and it's looking smooth and I'm applying the move back and forth, click close to a champion, being unpredictable, canceling the auto attack animation, maximizing my distance, even though I'm doing all of that, you're juggling all of that, but I'm still getting the maximum DPS. Okay? So that's drill number one. It's quite hard because a lot of students, the way they will cheat to make it more comfortable is you will do something like this. You will click too early, like that, see? And I'm waiting for the auto attack and here. Or you guys faker your machine. No, I think I know why I got higher DPS. There's one way that you can get one more DPS that I discovered, which is this. Look, remember how it was 61? If I do this, I start from max range. If I move closer now, I'm pretty sure that it gets higher DPS. I tried it the other day and it worked. Let's see if I can get it. No, I don't know how I did it. Yeah, I don't know how I did it. But yeah, I got one more. Maybe some rune or some, I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's 61 is the max and I got 61. It's the same. But anyway. I forgot what it was. The idea is that you're trying to juggle many things at once because you're like juggling your movement at the same time as maximizing your damage and your clicks. So it's like, usually the students, what they will do is like when they focus on the DPS and not losing DPS, they will lose distance. They will do this. Like, I don't want to lose DPS. See, I stop moving. Looks way less smooth now, see? Right? Sure, I'm getting 61 DPS, but I'm stopping. Right? And then if I tell them, no, but don't stop, they will do this. They will like, okay, I'm gonna move more, but then they don't know when to auto attack, and now they will lose DPS. Look, I'm moving a lot, but look at my DPS. It's already less than 61, see? Because I'm clicking so late. Okay. So basically, you gotta learn how to juggle both the distance and the damage. It's hard, right? A good practice. Then the second part of the drill is you're gonna level up a random ability, auto refresh cooldowns, auto refresh energy, and you're gonna do the same drill, but this time, does this hit the... Okay, good. Does it hit if I do this? Okay. So I'm gonna position myself here so it doesn't hit. So I'm gonna try to get 61 as well in 1,000, doing the same exact thing, moving a lot. Okay. But now every once in a while I will hit the other guy with a spear. So why I'm doing that? Because if I still get 61 DPS despite using my abilities, it means that I'm perfectly using the animation of my ability between the auto attacks without affecting the damage output or animation of the auto attack. That's really good. At the same time as I'm moving. So now you're juggling 3 times. You're juggling animations with movement with auto attack DPS. 3 things you're juggling instead of 2. So the first reel you're juggling DPS and movement, and the second reel you're juggling DPS, movement, and abilities. Right? So the reason I'm hitting the other guy with the ability is to not change the DPS on the main one, right? Okay. So I usually do this with Varus because you can have 3 abilities. Ninja only has 1 that because Q would hit this high and E will get me far away, so I don't hit this one. But anyway, you had the idea. And the last one, which you will hate me for, and I'm gonna leave after this, is with only right click, you're gonna put the dummy here. I'm gonna try to get 61 DPS again, or whatever maximum DPS you have. Only with right click, not target champion only, without hitting the raptors. Okay? That's really hard. Without hitting the raptors, okay? Without target champion only, and while moving a lot as well, okay? Get it? So that's gonna teach you mouse accuracy. If you wanna make it even harder, place 2 dummies here so that you cannot touch them when clicking side by side. That's really hard, right? Those are the 3 drills. Any questions? Anything else that you would like to ask me? On the march. And by the way, you can try different attack speeds. You can get level 18 and full build attack speed sometimes. What you do against Riven as Aatrox? What? What do you mean? Like, is that your game? I think it will take some time, but yeah, I mean, this is for doing every day. It's not like a thing that will make you improve right now. You gotta do it and do it and do it. My students always improve while doing this consistently. Riven against... No, against Riven as Aatrox. Isn't that a skill matchup? I'm not sure, actually.
It's skill matchup.
Yeah.
It's not a hard counter.
I think you take Ignite and hope for the best, honestly. And in my opinion, you should never be... I think the person that engages first loses that matchup. Like, whoever goes in first will lose. So you wait for her to go in. Because if you go in first, she baits with shield, goes out, and then goes in, you don't have anything. So I think whoever goes in first loses. It's the same as... is it Braum against... Braum against Nautilus, is it? Whoever goes in first loses, right?
Leona or Alistar, maybe?
Yeah, Leona, these are same. Whoever goes in first loses. Okay, so guys, thank you for being here. I will close the recording, and any questions that you have.